All right, welcome back. You're right in time for The Viewpoint, and we want to talk about matters industrialization, trade, and enterprise. We all know that without industrialization, trade, and all that, our country basically will come to a halt. All right, so today we want to focus basically on that and what you should know. We faced a very tough moment in the last 19 months. The country actually had a very slow pace in terms of industrialization, trade, tourism, and all those things put together. But then things are starting to look up pretty well. And the gentleman who is going to help me to understand this better, and even you, is one and only David Osiany, who is the CAS, the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Office and Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, here in studio with us. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to be here.
It's good to be here.
I'm absolutely delighted to come and have this conversation on industrialization.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
One thing people do not understand and people do not know perhaps is that you're also a journalist.
Oh, yes. Once a journalist, forever journalist. I was a radio presenter.
Yes.
For a couple of years. Yes.
I mean, is my job under threat right now, Director?
No.
Who is going to interview who now? Because I repeat, interviewing your fellow journalists is the hardest thing.
No. Yeah? I will take my rightful place.
Thank you.
Yes, Miss Manyara would kill me if I started to pretend to be the...
Regina, take note.
Regina is likely to kick me out, but I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You've been in office for 10 months now.
Yes.
How is it?
It's an honor to serve my country. It's a delightful honor. Mm-hmm. It's even twice an honor to be at the front seat of policy formulation.
Yes.
Agenda setting for the nation. To see firsthand, in depth, the challenges that truly face us from a macro perspective. And I am glad to have been offered this opportunity by the President.
Yes. As
a young person, to be involved in trying to create solutions for a sector that is targeted, quite succinctly targeted at the young people.
Yeah.
So it's been 10 months now, 10 months in which we have done a remarkable job together with my colleagues at the ministry, led by our leader, Miss Betty Minor.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't ask for anything else. I think this is my passion and calling.
Yes. When you look at where we are currently, we faced a very tough moment because of COVID, and it was a universal problem.
Yeah.
Where are we in terms of our rating? Since then, is everything looking up pretty well right now?
I mean, COVID has been a challenging time.
Yeah.
Not only for us as a country, but for the world over. During COVID, we had a very tough time.
Yeah.
Some of our industries were very hard beaten. The tourism sector, the hospitality sector, and trade generally, and enterprises were a bit shaken.
Yeah.
Jobs were lost. We probably lost over 2 million jobs during that time. Not as crazy as some countries, but still quite huge.
Yeah.
The industrialization sector, our manufacturing sector was, suffered a proper brunt of the pandemic. It's been challenging, and even more challenging for leaders like us, when the nation looks up to you for solutions, and you can only solve so much because the situation was unforeseen, and therefore, because it was unforeseen, and we are a country that had never suffered a pandemic before.
Yeah.
Our neighboring Uganda suffered the SARS pandemic, so they were probably better prepared for it.
In fact, Uganda's schools are still closed to date.
Yes, because of that history. But I think we have been able to ace it.
Yeah.
We are back on our feet. Our vaccination program continues rolling. Upwards of 6 million people now being vaccinated. We are asking as many as possible to ensure that they go for their second jabs. The Ministry of Health has done a remarkable job.
Yeah.
We at the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development have been trying to ensure that our businesses get back on their feet. The President, in creating cushioning frameworks during the COVID pandemic, was able to assist as many businesses as possible with adjustment of duty and tax here and there. You know, the creation of the Credit Guarantee Fund that I hope that will be able to support as many businesses as possible. And things are looking up. I am not a pessimist. As I have always said, I'm an Afro-optimist.
You have to.
I'm an Afro-optimist. A believer that Africa can still conquer the world. You know, a believer that because we are the bread basket of the world, we deserve to lead the world. And this pandemic shocked us, shook us up, but we will shake off the shrapnel and get back on our feet.
When you talk about Africa being the breadbasket of the entire universe, so to speak, Kenya is strategically placed. When you look at East Africa in general, Kenya is like the head boy, where each and every nation come for benchmarking and see what we are able to produce and give to the society out there. Do we have hope as a nation?
You know, we didn't get there by chance. We literally got there by grit and hard work. We were purposive in our forays as we climbed to be the East and Central African leaders. Kenya has played a pivotal role in this region. It is the basis for the tranquility and peace in the, in the Horn of Africa region. Kenya is the home to some of the leading UN agencies globally. And their global headquarters, not regional, but global headquarters, the United Nations Environment Programme sits here. The UN Habitat sits here. It is because they have given us a vote of confidence in our ability and capability. Now, whereas we have enjoyed that, we have in recent past had now threats coming to try and threaten the position of Kenya as an industrial leader in the region. Well, nations are working hard, but we are not sleeping. So we to be threatened or not threatened is neither here nor there. We would be threatened if we sat down and did nothing about our future. But with a constant innovation and an attempt to achieve our future, with the Big Four agenda, which is a legacy project for the president, giving a roadmap for when we need to go, with our belief that our Vision 2030 is still a vision we can achieve, I'm not too sure they'll catch up with us. But yes, countries have worked hard. Our neighboring Rwanda has worked really hard. Tanzania, with President Samia Suluhu taking over from John Pombe Magufuli, is trying to work hard. Everyone is trying to show investors and industrialists that we have the best package for you. But I do not think any of them has the combination that suits investors, which is political, economic stability, and just a general business environment. We are currently in the region the best in our ease of doing business ranking globally. We did not just get there, and we've constantly improved.
We need to maintain that tempo.
We have to. We don't have a choice, because should we, then all these other nations are opening up. Ethiopia was right at our back, trying to really eclipse us from that position. They have suffered an unfortunate misfortune with the instability in the country, praying that they will be able to get over that. But yeah, we are still solidly ahead of the pack in the EAC region, but we cannot rest there, because it is not enough to be the leaders in East and Central Africa.
Because competitors are also behind us.
We should be competing to get South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt out of where they are ahead of us. So we cannot sit and say, and that is why we have keenly, as a ministry, focused on the manufacturing sector. What is it we are able to do to create opportunities for investors to come into the country, and for our local investors to invest in the country, thereby creating jobs improving our economic standing and improving our GDP status. Hence, getting us to the top rank of the world and moving us to a middle-income economy.
Mheshimiwa, the only thing that most people will talk about is Kenya is run by agriculture, SMEs, the backbone of our day-to-day lives. And we export a lot. Talk of pyrethrum, talk of coffee, talk of tea, talk of all those things we can talk about, and we also get a lot even from the tourists. We'll talk about tourism later on. But then, what is that thing that you can assure the SMEs? Because the country is now opening up slowly, and perhaps what is your target that at some point things will now start to stabilize? Then you can now say, it's way back 2 years ago where we were. What is your vision? What is your mind where you sit and see Kenya is going to stabilize? At what point?
It is very hard to tell. So first, I think we are stable.
We are.
I need us to understand that we are stable. All factors held constant. We have suffered a huge challenge with COVID, and the pandemic has been very harsh to businesses, very harsh to our traders, twice as harsh to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. But we are stable, and we shouldn't take that for granted. But what I hope is that the SMEs will appreciate the various things and various initiatives that have been taken by government to support them. The Micro, Small and Enterprise Authority, for example, MSEA, is not known to many people. The Micro and Small Enterprise Authority is a parastatal that is dedicated entirely to support our SMEs, to support them by resources, to support them by giving them business advice with business advisory services, to support them by ensuring that they adhere to the set rules and which will enable them enjoy the preferential treatment that we find under AGPO, the access to government procurement opportunities, and many of that. We have the Kenya Industrial Estates, which is distributed nationwide. The Kenya Industrial Estates was an organization formed with a vision to support the various SMEs that are in industrialization as a sector, to help them financially, give them loans to the tune of 20 million shillings to be able to stabilize, to purchase equipment on their behalf and support our SMEs. A lot of SMEs do not know this. It makes sense to me, having sat on this end of the spectrum, why the Bible would say, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Because knowledge is everything. Having realized that this is a huge challenge, that the knowledge gap is so far and so huge, I started an initiative called Biashara Tuesdays. Where, from 10 to midday every Tuesday on my Facebook page, I call the CEOs of our parastatals and various actors in the industrialization and trade space, and ask them, what is it we are doing as a ministry to support our traders? Because a lot of people don't know. These initiatives exist, but they don't know. We have the Kenya Industrial Enterprise Project. They don't know. We have the Kenya Youth Employment Opportunity Project. Many people don't know. That is
so
there are all these initiatives that have been put in place to support our SMEs. You talk about Kirdi, because we are exporting. But for me, I think we will have achieved the day we export 70 of our products as manufactured products, not in their primary status. Kirdi is an organization that is targeted at SMEs to support them in value addition. That if you have a whole 200 sacks of peanut, or groundnuts as others call it, and you go to Kirdi, they will tell you, this is how you dry them, this is how you roast them, this is how you package them. And working together with Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, which is under our ministry, alongside KIE, they're able to finance, they're able to help you with getting the standardization mark, value addition. Then you will realize that every material sold in its raw product or as a primary product, like groundnuts, If you sell a kilo of groundnuts today for, let's say, 100 shillings, compared to if you sold that same kilo as a value-added product, you will make more than 400% profit.
But are people much aware about this?
I mean, we have tried, and we are doing even now, which is why we are taking time to inform those who are hearing. Go to Kirdi, Kenya Industrial Research Development Institute, search it. We are building a state-of-the-art complex in South C, in South B, in industrial area really, so that we can host as many SMEs as possible in manufacturing. We have people who do honey from our Kirdi centers across the country. We offer you space to do this. The Kenya Industrial Estates does shades and gives them to various business people. If you want to have a bakery, they're going to give you a space that already has three-phase electricity, that already has water. The infrastructure is existing. The Micro Small Enterprise Authority has built shades everywhere. I was in Peketoni the other day, the home to the second largest Juakali sector after Kisumu's Juakali. Mpeketoni is reputed for its famed Lamu doors. And I can tell you, I have seen and know the cost of Lamu doors in Nairobi. But because people wouldn't know where to source them from, watagongwa hapa town. Watagongwa.
Hii ni Kanairo,
mzee. So those are some of the things we also try to inform them. But we have put in place a support framework to be able to assist our SMEs to bounce back. All they need to do is to plug into this framework. Because without knowledge, they wouldn't know how to plug in. If you don't know that you can gather yourselves as a couple of businesses and register with the registrar of MSCs to then get support of government in various initiatives, then you will continue crying and saying, what do we do? But here it is. Here is our opportunity. The thing is, we are also unable to take the space on KBC, for example, every morning, because someone in mining wants to come and tell Kenyans about mining. Another one wants to come and tell Kenyans about tourism and opportunities therein. We need to get literacy programs for them from Treasury to know what are bonds, why do I buy a Treasury bond, does it assist me in any way? And so the opportunities for elucidating on some of these things may be rare, but as much as is possible, we have tried to recount them. I have transformed my social media pages into pages of information, purely. Every time I go anywhere, I try to tell those who follow, they're not very many, just shy of 100,000. This is what we are doing. This is why it's important. Go to this website and find the rest of information. I'll have done my part.
Waziri, for the last 10 months you've been in office and you've traveled far and wide. When you look at Kenya and other nations, when you look at the active age group, the youth, the Juakali sector, talk of industrialization, talk of tourism and hospitality sector, when you look at Kenya and you compare with other brothers and sisters across the globe, what do you see?
I see hope. I see hope. I see hope if we stick to the script. If we believe that the Big Four agenda, for example, of Vision 2030 is a roadmap to attaining our middle income status, I see hope. I'm praying that any political dispensation that takes over the country is able to stick to that script. Because if you go to Singapore, where Lee Kuan Yew set the foundation of the country, all the presidents who followed Lee Kuan Yew just built up on the original script.
And that's why
the tragedy for Africa is to end up having political leaders who come and want to outdo everything their predecessors have done and start afresh. Attaining or meeting some of these high-minded affairs or initiatives then becomes a challenge. All of them stall. And yet the truth is there's power in continuity. It's like building a house. I have built a couple of houses. I know that when you're at the foundation, it looks muddy, murky. You can be pessimistic.
You can even lose hope.
You can give up and say, man, it's not leaving the ground. Because the ground, the foundation is the basis for growth for everything. If you don't do a good job at the foundation and give the pillars that are right, then that house is going to come down like the famed houses we've seen not too far ago in Kangemi.
Yeah.
Because there was not enough investment in the foundation. I think President Uhuru Kenyatta has invested in the foundation. We may not entirely see and appreciate how much work has gone in there. We will appreciate.
We will appreciate at some point, right?
My plea would be that should we want to emulate countries that are ahead of us, like Egypt or the United Arab Emirates, where things are working and are functional, let's stick to the script relentlessly.
Allow me to
I
ask
see
you,
hope.
there is hope. Allow me to ask you this. The SMEs, the fund, when you talk of the youth, because the bigger margin is 70% of the population is the youth. And each and every government will always have to bank on the youth currently. And the president is quite passionate about the youth, to empower them, to make sure that they don't just sit there. But make me understand, how is your ministry trying to get these active heads together so that they become productive today, tomorrow, and even years to come?
You know, each and every government, as I said, will always speak about the youth, but this is the only government that for the first time, under my watch and the steady leadership of Madam Betty Maina, we have been able to finally come up with an MSc policy. It has never existed in the country. It's always been said, this is what we're going to do. For the first time, Kenya as a country, as a micro and small enterprise policy, as a guiding principle or as a general guidance for involving the traders in this sector. Majority of whom are young people. All right. Now, our young people today are constantly seeking opportunities for engagement. And that is why I make a case for manufacturing. That if we are going to create sufficient jobs for our people, then we must think manufacturing. And when I talk about manufacturing, I'm not talking about having, you know, this massive plant in 100 acres that does. No.
Start small.
I'm talking about the businessman who is able to access 5 million shillings. Starting a small industry that does juice, or does that one that does peanuts, or starting a bakery. Because this is how countries like Asia, I mean the Asian countries like China, India, and the rest have grown. They have grown on the back of industrialization. Cognizant of the fact that artificial intelligence is going to come as a disruptor.
And to just cut all this away.
And which is why there needs to be a deliberate investment in our young people in terms of their skill sets that can complement the digitalization that's going to take over the world. Regina just said, as she was leaving the set, I heard her say that, you know, it is said that the fourth industrial revolution will be led by the digital space, will be an ICT-led revolution. All right. It informs why the initiative to have laptops in our schools was started, albeit with the challenges that it accrued. But that focus is very important. Innovation in this country, I mean, we have the Kenya Innovation Week, I think, coming up in December, where I'll be speaking at. It would be important for Kenyans to come and see, or log in if it's hybrid, like we will have the Africa Industrialization Week, what it is that we need to do to prepare for the industrial revolution that will be disrupted by ICT. And so our young people, we need to get into manufacturing wholly. The government and the ministry has two programs that have necessitated the growth of industrialization and investment. Number one is the Export Processing Zone program.
The EPZs.
The EPZs. The EPZs have been here with us for about 30 years. The EPZs were created, the program was created to attract investors who want to access international markets, but from Kenya. So what we said is, we have this program, we have these incentives, we have, you know, tax incentives and all these other incentives for you as an investor to come and work from Kenya, create employment to our people. But while you're creating employment to our young people, have a very important component called skills transfer. Because
the locals.
as they work, to the locals,
Yeah.
as they work, they're able to learn about how these sophisticated machines are operating. And that's how you end up with one of them leaving to go and start. He's a small one in Lamu, or a small one in Embu, or another tiny one in Rongo or Kokal, wherever it is. All right. The next one is the Special Economic Zones program. Now, EPZ program is export facing. Essentially, what you mean is, if you're coming to set up in our EPZ, you can only offload 20% of your production, of your products, into the local market. And the local market here is East Africa community. It's no longer Kenya.
You're a journalist, and so when I say, well, let's take a break, you'll understand what I mean.
Well, I understand. I understand what you mean. We will take a break. Okay, fine, fair enough.
Fair enough. We are talking about industrialization. We are talking about export. You're talking about business. Today is Business 101. Let's take a break. When we come back, we have Waziri here, David Osiany, talking to us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and we're still having our discussion with the CS here, David Osiany, under the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. We are having to understand what you really need to know. I mean, we had our fair share, and all of us, together we shall rise. And with his word, he said, we have hope as a nation. Do we have hope? Do you? Let's continue the discussion.
Yeah.
All right. So, Waziri, there is a function coming up next week.
Yes.
Africa Industrialization Week.
Good.
And Kenya is one of the participants in this kind of function. How important is it for us as a nation?
It is a very important week for us ahead of the Africa Industrialization Day that is on 20th of next month. A very important week for Kenyans and for Africa to focus on industrialization, to realign their political intention to the industrialization agenda, to stick to the script as was agreed more than 30 years ago at the AU, to ensure that all our countries have this week that helps us to remind ourselves of our commitment to industrializing Africa and moving Africa ahead. And which is why I was talking about the EPZ in Kenya, for example, the EPZ and Special Economic Zone Program. The Special Economic Zone Program, as you're aware or may have seen, we have 10 special economic zones in Kenya. 3 of them are public. That is Ndongo Kundu in Mombasa. There is Naivasha, Special Economic Zone in Nakuru County. Then there is Konza Technopolis. People don't even know that it's a special economic zone.
It is.
Which focuses on technology, on and innovation. In Kisumu, we are going to come up with the 4th special economic zone in Miwani, which is at advanced stages. In fact, not too long ago, last week, I hosted the anchor investors who we have invited into the country to help us get into Miwani and start industrialization and manufacturing there. And they've had meetings with the PPP unit, head by a very nice guy, Christopher, who has done a great job as Director General, young, suave, sleek, good at what he does. I love it when my fellow young people are doing something good so that we are not insulted and told young people were given opportunities but they did nothing for it. And so the Special Economic Zone Program allows investors to come into the country and set up in our Special Economic Zones, and they can sell both locally and internationally, unlike EPZ where you can only sell 20% locally. However, the Africa Industrialization Week is going to be taking place in Laikipia County, in Nanyuki. Nanyuki is going to play host to us with the involvement of the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, as well as the AU, playing a very pivotal role. We will be gathering in Nanyuki, where more than 200 companies, manufacturing companies, are going to be showcasing their art, are going to be telling Kenyans what they're going to be doing to move to the next level. It is impeccable.
It sounds like a big deal.
No, it is a big deal, of course. Listen, Victor.
Right.
Most of our towns in Kenya owe their industrialization and development, or their growth, or only morphed into towns because of industrialization.
Right.
Case in point, Kitengela. Kitengela
Absolutely.
was born out of the EPZ's existence in that place, with an employment workforce of about 10 to 15,000 in the EPZ. The people who work in the EPZ needed housing.
Yeah.
So people had to build houses in Kitengela. Their children needed schools. So schools had to be built in Kitengela.
Hospitals.
Their children and themselves, they needed healthcare. That had to be built. They needed the good roads. That is why Kitengela has become Kitengela. Now, Kenya's fastest growing urban area, Kitengela.
Actually,
go to a place called Awendo. Next to where I come from, and Rongo, who both owe their existence to the Sony Sugar Company.
Actually, you can drive there for like around 10, 15, 20 minutes before you reach at the factory itself.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, so you look at the towns that have had the misfortune of becoming ghost towns. Webuye only became ghost towns because an industry died. And that's why I think the president has taken this as a very important calling for himself, to try and promote as many manufacturers as possible so that we absorb a lot of employees, number one, but also the net effect then is that we will create other towns. Remember, when you speak about special economic zone, the whole of Singapore is a special economic zone. Started as a small special economic zone and grew wider and wider.
Where did we leave the mark?
Dubai, which is a sultanate of the United Arab Emirates, and the fastest growing, is a hub, logistical hub for the world and financial center for the world, with the Jebel Al free area being the landmark, the tweaking effect that made Dubai what it is. And so industrialization has a very, very important place in our development as a society. So we want to gather in Nanyuki and showcase, and I'm inviting all the people listening to us, come and see what happens there, if for nothing else, just so that you could try and attempt your own.
And learn something out of that.
Learn. Look at the opportunities that exist. You will come and learn that we may be selling cashew nuts, but so much cashew nuts are still needed. The market is huge. You can't even meet the local market. Come and see what happens to bananas, how they need to be done and packaged. The Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, which I lead, is among, part of the work we've done is to set up green cold storages, Kisi, Nyahururu, Meru, so that farmers can be able to stash as much of their products as possible and give them a lengthier shelf life to be able to export. But come and learn what it is when we speak about value addition.
When you look at some of the young industries, the sector players, most of them are youth. The innovation, the creativity, and the talent which is out there. Are we likely to see? What keeps you awake at night when you look at the young generation trying to get their hands dirty and make it out there and get their hands onto some of these things perceived to be for who and who out there, but they're still pushing on and they want to make a mark?
What keeps me awake is the possibility of achieving that dream. It keeps me awake. How am I going to play my role in ensuring that the young people who are working so hard, who have decided that they will not get into wash or they will not get into this unscrupulous businesses,
quick money,
get to the top? How is it that they're going to be able to access affordable capital and funding for their businesses? You know, how is it that we are not going to let our bad credit culture hamper on the good people who are dirtying their hands? Because tragically, when we had the youth fund, for example, the youth fund was given to businesses, but people did not return that money. How is it that we are going to be able to embed in our young people the desire to be able to understand that when they take a loan, it is money given to them so that they can use it to grow, return it so that someone else grows.
Exactly.
You know, that keeps me awake at night. How are we able to hit this very useful nexus of growth for our young people, creating opportunities for them, creating employment. How are we going to be able to circumvent the inevitable place of artificial intelligence and digitalization, and how that will impact on our jobs and job losses? Because soon, you know, if you go to the Dubai airport, for example, you go there, unlike Nairobi, where, you know, you have all these people constantly saying, load it here, luggage. You go, you scan your passport. It tells you, put your bag here. It's all machine. You don't even talk to anyone. Load it. It is access. There is a pay point next to you. You just insert your card to the PDQ machine. You pay for the extra amount. It is moved to the conveyor belt. How many jobs have been lost at the Dubai airport because of that? Numerous. And that's the reality. That's where we are going. We cannot run away from it forever. So it keeps me awake to ask myself, how are we going to be able to realize a particular skill set that cannot be replaced by this? You know, the skills of the heart. Because a machine cannot nurse a patient.
No. Not for too long.
Yet the machine needs engineers also to be able to fix it when it drops.
When you talk about the function coming up next week, the Industrialization Week, how can one access that particular area? And one, registration, is it open for all? Yes.
Yes, Industrialization Week in Nanyuki. So everyone is invited.
Yes.
You can come. We are not going to restrict the numbers. We will just ensure that we observe the COVID protocols, you know, wash your hands, have your mask on. It should be possible to access it. You can go to our website, www.industrialization.go.ke, and access as much information as you want, or www.trade.go.ke. And also our Twitter handles, IndustryKE, you know, at IndustryKE or at trade_Kenya. And ask as many questions as you want, drop us messages. You can read as much as possible on our Africa Industrialization Week coming up in Nanyuki on those platforms.
Waziri, the sugar industry is suffering, and it's under your docket. Nzoia Sugar has just received 500 million shillings as a cash bailout. What about the rest of Miwani, the Kibos Sugar? We talk of the Mumias sugar industry, the Wendo, and even the farmers who are not able to sell their cane to the factory themselves.
You know, when you talk about sugar industry, I am a product of the sugar industry. My father retired from Sony Sugar. I was brought up in Sony. I did not grow up in the UK or in America or anywhere else. I grew up in the village. I grew up as a product of an industry. That's why for me it was a blessing for the president to appoint me here, because I wanted to do as much as is possible, add value, work together with my colleagues, and ensure that we move our country forward. Yes, the president has realized that the sugar sector, just as all other industrial sectors, has been hard beat, mostly by governance issues, which are now being amended, only amended when it's gone too far. But I think we have incredible teams. I have met most of the CEOs who run these factories. You know, they're visionary. They know the task ahead is daunting. The president, in his speech, dedicated 1.5 billion Kenya shillings for a bailout of the sugar industry. So Nzoia has gotten its share. Sony, Chemelil, you know, I served on the board of Chemelil Sugar as a director. Chemelil, Muhoroni, and all those are going to find their fair share in due course. I think it is just an appreciation of how far deep we are, especially based on the fact that the industry was already having problems before, and COVID only came to exacerbate these problems. And so this commitment by the president is a great one. I am only hoping and praying that the visionary leaders that lead the sugar industries now will realize that should those industries die, then we are going to end up with ghost towns and ghost cities, jobless people, highly skilled yet jobless. That's how we get into crime.
Waziri, when you talk about sugar industry, most people are still saying that, you know, we have got unscrupulous businessmen importing sugar from our neighboring countries. Are you going to stop this as a ministry? As a ministry, we, you know, in my ministry, there is the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, which works day and night together with Kenya Bureau of Standards, KRA. It's a multi-agency team to deal with anti-counterfeit goods in the country. We realize that if you bring in, for example, industrial sugar, one, you are risking the lives of Kenyans, all right? But secondly, you are also just
killing the local industry. So we have tried to create a fair playing ground. That multi-agency team that is led by the PS for Interior, Karanja Kibisho, and at the ministerial level by the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, alongside my minister and the Kuriatani, has done as much as is possible to try and curb this menace. I wouldn't say we may have entirely curbed it, but I would say comfortably we have significantly curbed it. We hope that we will get to a point where, and this is why I call Kenyans to be each other's keeper, because we rely on the Kenyans of goodwill who understand what this is doing to us as a country, to be able to inform government, hey, listen, I know so-and-so who's been able to do this, and tip off the country. We have a system that allows people to tip us off, you know, anonymously. So that it helps us to narrow down, investigate, and working together with the intelligence groups, get down to these unscrupulous business people and net them and charge them. So we have had a significant reduction after the initiative that was led by CS Fred Matiang'i and the multi-agency team. Granted, there are some unscrupulous people who will find their way around, but I think by and large, we've had them dealt with.
Most of the time they've been caught, you know, large containers netted at the port of Mombasa, ferrying sugar from overseas. But that one, as it may, at some point this must end, and businessmen and the sugar, you come from the sugar belt, most of the farmers are saying that their sugar cane are not reaching the factories.
The challenge that has been with that is that because the factories have been struggling, they've been lean on equipment and machinery, they've been unable to therefore service their tractors, they've been unable to pay the contractors, the transport contractors. So you have a combination of the weather issues. So you find a farmer has a farm which is inaccessible because the roads are horrible. The roads used to be maintained as CSR by these sugar factories. They are unable to do that maintenance now. It makes it a whole challenge. And so I understand the pain of the farmer when they say they are unable to have their cane harvested in time. Not because the factories don't want to harvest, but because the factories have themselves been struggling, you know, getting by and eventually just having to harvest from their nucleus estates and in selected areas that have proper infrastructure that enable them to go in. Because if a loader breaks down, the factory doesn't have money to service the loader. You have contractors who provide tractors or trucks that should move the cane. They have not been paid for so long. They go on strike, so they can't transport. It's a net effect. So we hope that this boost that the government has given the sugar factories will be able to assist them to get back on their feet.
I have a question here. What is the ministry doing to support SMEs, more so with the special focus on how to expound the Kariobangi manufacturing hub?
You know, the Kariobangi Manufacturing Hub is home now to our Micro and Small Enterprise Authority. MSEA has actually taken over that as a Biashara Center. The ministry has created what we know as Biashara Centers. There are 4 Biashara Centers across the country. The Biashara Center principle was anchored on the same principle that runs the Huduma Center, only that this is a Huduma Center for businesses. Biashara centers, we have one in Kisumu at the Kirdi offices. We have one in Eldoret, in our KEBS office in Eldoret. You know, we have another one in Mombasa, in our KEBS office in Mombasa. But the first and the biggest is the one we have at Kariobangi. We've actually made it into a Biashara center where you can go in and find all our 18 parastatals seated and waiting to assist you. You can ask all the questions and get them. Be that as it may, there has been very huge investment in equipment at our Biashara center in Kariobangi. We have put lathe machines for our people. We have created structures for them to be able to use and rented them out affordably. There's been so much support and resources getting into the Kariobangi Manufacturing Center, which is now known as our Biashara, Nairobi Biashara Center.
Another question is that how many SMEs have gone through it?
Wow. I wouldn't have the number of SMEs that have gone through it often because Kariobangi Center has been there for ages. But I would tell you, no less than 500. There have been many. Some have been there for long. Some have utilized that center as a point for growth. so that then after creating a stable foundation, they grew out into the market, ventured there, created their own, built their own factories, moved on. But we have had a whole journey. Remember, we even have the Kenya Industrial Estates. Spectra International came from the KIE. What you see today as Serena and the Sarova groups came from our Industrial Development Bank. What is known as Chris Kirubi's, what is it called?
The Centum?
Not Centum, the factory that does the oils and stuff. HACO.
Right.
HACO came from Kenya Industrial Estates, from the Ministry of Industrialization. So many have come from there. Many are growing out to venture and become bigger.
And lastly, still on the question side, what is the capacity, and there any plans to expand it to other counties apart from Nairobi, maybe Mombasa, Kisumu, and the rest?
We have plans to expand the Biashara centers to all counties. Preliminarily, we hope that we will be able to get to 10 counties first. But we don't even want to go to those 10 counties until we have ensured that the 4 counties where we have established them are functioning and working properly. We hope that we will get as many people, we will have footfall and traffic into these Biashara centers and be able to assist them. Because then, if we do not have as many people inquiring and getting assistance in our Biashara centers, how are we able to expand? What would be the rationale for that expansion? So I hope that we make use of this, because they are focal points distributed across country, reachable for most people, and see how they can be of help to us before we move to the rest of the counties.
And lastly, another question from a viewer asking, ask Waziri, what is the impact Kirdi has had on industrialization?
Kirdi has had probably the most immense impact in terms of value addition for industrialization. We have had small factories not too long ago. I mean, on 5th of November, my mother Tabitha Osiany was having her birthday. I remember I had to order her cake from a young lady who runs a bakery called Modesh Bakeries in Kisumu. I met her because she was an incubatee of Kirdi, moved from being assisted to building her own bakery, in Migosi. And that now employs about 6 people. And on the side, she's a trainer. So this is the kind of stories that you will never know. There are people who even do leather. If you go to Kirdi, and there's Kirdi in Bungoma, Eldoret, Nairobi, Kisumu, all these. But are our people utilizing them? We have a Kirdi office in Migori that we hope to equip pretty soon to grow it even bigger. You know, because I believe charity begins at home. Are we able to take advantage of this? Because Kirdi has trainers for you. It has the assistance of very skilled, technicians to help you learn the ropes. And at Kirdi, there is also KEBS to support you. They're called the 3 Ks. KIE to give you the funding, KEBS to give you standardization, Kirdi to teach you on value addition. And so Kirdi has been hugely pivotal. The story of Modesh Bakeries is just one of the many stories that Kirdi is proud of.
Waziri, allow me to ask you this. You appointed the ministry as a young Kenyan.
Yes.
When you walk out there and you meet your peers, the young Kenyans who are optimistic, going about their business, what do you see in their faces?
Whenever I encounter optimism from our young Kenyans, I see in their faces agility. And I am just a representative of many, maybe not the most deserving of all. But that agility must not be robbed from them. I see and I recognize the weight that I have to be able to make that agility in their faces stay longer and translate into not mere agility but achievement. I just hope that I'm able to do my small part in this short time. As I have said, I'm a sunset appointee. Appointed at 5 p.m. just before 7 p.m. And we have to do what there is to be done in that sunset moment. And I believe I am doing the best I can.
Yeah.
By initiatives like Biashara Tuesdays and many other initiatives, utilizing all these spaces, you know, mainstream media, social media spaces to inform our young people, pushing for them from within and bringing the youth perspective into ministerial management, I think we will have done our part. But most importantly, I want that agility to become achievement.
Yes.
When it becomes achievement, I'll be a happy person, and I hope that I've been able to leave. I will be able to have left my mark when my time is up.
As we come to a close, Waziri, the last question I would like to ask you, what is a projection for the country moving forward now that everything is now opening slowly? And we hope that soon we'll be there.
The president in the Big Four agenda intended that the manufacturing sector will contribute not only the 7.5% into GDP that it does today, but that we will have doubled that to 15% by 2022. There could be a challenge with getting there because COVID has robbed us of 19 months of being able to impact that way. But if we can be able to get from 7.5% to 10 or 11%, that'd be great. I know my projection is that Kenya will roar back to its proper self, you know, hoping we get to become a 24-hour economy, because I can see the restlessness in our young people, positive restlessness, desire to make things work, the innovation in our young people that's locked up in them. That potential must be utilized for the growth of our country. And what better person to do it than us together? We will do it as a ministry. We do it as citizens. We will move together.
And finally, on the Africa Industrialization Week, probably you can give us the last bit on where, date, time, and who should come, just an overview, and how we can start this moving next week.
The Africa Industrialization Week will be running from the 12th to 19th, 13th to 20th.
Yes.
It will be... it will be in Laikipia County, Nanyuki. We will be there the whole of next week. 200 companies are going to be based there. We hope that you will join us. And I really hope to see you there. I will be officiating the Africa Industrialization Week there. I hope to interact with you. I hope to interact with our young people trying to set up industries, to have a chat with you. You know, I'm the commonest of the ministers you will find around, so I just want to have a chat sometimes. Come, let's have a chat, ask questions, find out, let's grow together, let's go forward together.
Absolutely. We've had a very good discussion. He's called himself Sunset Appointee, a new one. How you interpret that is all up to you, but that has come from him, Sunset Appointee. But Waziri, thank you so much for gracing our show today. I hope you have learned something, and by the way, make sure that you go down there in Nanyuki. It's an amazing place. Like the other day we had a conversation with the governor. He said that go to Nanyuki and you'll experience something that you've never experienced in any part of the country. All right? And by the way, he's my church chorister.
We will not even start that.
Not even start that.
Only Jane will be allowed to do that.
On Saturdays, if you want to know where to find him.
I go to Lavington SDA Church.
My church chorister.
I love the Lord.
Oh, yes.
I love music too.
So we do.
I love what I do.
Waziri, thank you so much.
God bless
we've
you.
had our Waziri, that is David Osiany, who is the CAS in the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. We've been talking about matters to do with the trade, industry, and how, as a nation, we can get on our feet once again. Hatujaenda mbali sana, but we'll make it there. Thank you so much for your time. That is all we have time for. On behalf of everyone, have a fantastic day and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. Thank you.